How we doing, y'all's fans? Welcome into another edition of Through the Lens. This time with hitting coach, hitting coordinator. Are you as particular with your title as Chad Rhodes is? It's Drew Martinez.
No,
No.
I'm not at one bit. No, I'm hitting coach is good with me.
So the hitting coach, hitting guru. I'll call you that for now. What's your off season like? Of course, it's been a couple of months now since the playoffs concluded. What's kind of the off season of a coach in your shoes?
For me, I go back to training players because for me, I take time off. I usually go see family, but now it's back to training players. Right now, I'm at a facility in New Orleans. It's called Big Easy Sportsplex. Really, it's one of the few baseball places in the city. It's like 72,000 square feet. It's huge.
Wow.
And I'm there right now. Most high school and college and professional kids all go there. So the traffic is nice. And I usually train a bunch of players. I get a good amount of players because my dad, him playing here, growing up here, and now the dads are at the age where they all remember my dad because a lot of them either played against or with or knew of. So a lot of kids, especially because I'm here now, a lot of kids are coming to me because of that.
Now, how much of work, of course, you train players. Ryan White does a similar thing. How much do you focus on building a roster for the Y'alls in the regular season, or is that something you wait a little more towards the season?
No, we're always working. We're always building. Even within a few weeks after baseball season was done, BY and I were talking and trying to figure out what our next moves were. Not just as, for players, but for coaches, as Rhodes is in Portugal. That's a huge loss in general, just from a pitching perspective, having somebody with a mind like his, because I bounce a lot of ideas and thoughts off him. Just from a hitting standpoint, because you got to think he's doing it from the opposing standpoint. The more you can learn from him, the better you can be. And Rose and I talked a lot during the year, and so I played for the guy, so there was a comfortability immediately with him. But Brian and I have been talking. We're still talking. We literally were talking last night about it. Me, him, and actually Taylor Bryant. We're all talking together. But it's something where I think you're always continually growing, trying to find the next moves. You know how it is. Turnover does happen. Players retire. Players decide it's good time for them to move on. And some players decide it's time for them to go to another league. We sent Setio and Tripp to the American, so we're also deciding what we want next or who we want from them. So it's using that as well because, as you know, we could say, hey, we want these two players or we want this guy or that guy, and then it ended up being where that guy didn't even make our team. It's weird stuff like that happens. But we started building pretty quickly because I feel like we're gonna lose it. We lost some big pieces, and we felt like we were going to lose some big pieces, as in Tripp, as in Setio. Those are, two top of the order guy and frontline starter, frontline bullpen guy. However you want to look at Tripp. So it'll be interesting.
Now, part of that, you lose big guys, and part of the things that helps you have success that next year is developing the guys that you did have. Mm-hmm. Specifically, Andres Rios, got to talk to him yesterday. He's a guy that got cut out of camp originally, came back about 2 months later, and was actually a pretty big key piece in that lineup down the stretch and in the postseason. What's the development like, and specifically also with him? What'd you see from him at the end of the year?
Well, Rios was somebody. He was one of the last people we cut, and it's not like it was like he was first out the gate. Hey, you're not good. It was we didn't know. We was between him and somebody else. The only difference between him and somebody else is, that kid could also play outfield positions as well. Literally, the only reason and we told him that we're like, hey, look, you might not want to hear this, but we're being honest with you. this is the only reason why. And he used that and had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Well, he wasn't mad at us, like he got it and he was disappointed. But the biggest thing is understanding that he didn't sulk on it. And Quebec ended up picking him up. He played a little bit with Quebec. And then he went to play with the Black Sox stuff, kept getting at bats. And the minute opportunity came with us, we told him, hey, an opportunity is probably going to come later in the season. It did, and he was ready to go. And that's more of a testament to him, being ready to go, not sulking on it. And he became a bigger part of our lineup, having some big at bats and some big moments down the stretch. Some good, some we struggle with trying to do too much. I think with a little bit of success, sometimes you try to do a little too much at times. And he did, and he knew that. We talked, and the good thing is he's young, he's learning. He asks the right questions. He's constantly engaged. We're excited, for him to come back. We're excited for him to get going. And it's gonna be interesting to see. Him and Louis in that middle was really nice.
Yeah,
it was really nice. They worked together well. The rhythm was good. And like I say, Andres he was a good clubhouse guy. On top of that, guys loved him. He was fun to be around. And best as we do. We want good character guys as well. We don't want them just to be good players. We want good character guys. And Andres was one of those.
Yeah.
And he, it was good for him. I was excited for him for that to happen for him.
Now, how about your coaching style overall? Is it one that you have a specific philosophy that you want to kind of gear towards guys, or is it a case by case basis, picking up on little things for people?
For me, it's picking up on little things. I'm not gonna. It's every hitter in our lineup is different in some sort or another. I have a hitting philosophy in my head, but I'm not going to go out there and say it to the players, only because I don't want them to get in their head, I have to be like this in order to make the team. If they change who they are, become someone different than what they are, then they may end up hurting themselves in the long run. So I know what I want. I know what I look for in a player. But at the same time, it's more understanding that I need to be able to adapt and adjust, because my philosophy may not be good for somebody else. And I need to be able to adjust and adapt on the fly with them. And if I'm not able to do that, then I'm not evolving as a coach, as well as somebody who's trying to, mentor them a little bit, because I build a relationship. That's the first thing I want to build. I'm not worried about how good of a hitter they are. I'm not worried about how good of how well they swing the bat, how far they hit the ball. My first thing I really do is I try to build a relationship. I talk to them. I text them. I find things out. I ask them questions. I start the calling process early. I want to know, where they live, what they do, because I need to know. To me, that builds really builds trust. And if they start to get comfortable with you, then they start to trust you. If they start to trust you, then you could talk. They know I'm always pretty straightforward with them with everything, top to bottom, whether they want to hear it or not. They may not like it. They may get pissed off at it. They may get mad, or it may hurt. It may upset them, but they know that I'm going to say something to them. And if I say it's because I believe it, I may not always be right. And I know that, but at least I'm saying what I'm thinking to them. And for them, I think I've built an amount of respect with them that they'll listen. But they know that if they disagree, they're not going to hurt my feelings, or I'm not going to get pissed off or mad at them for saying, no, I don't agree with you, because I don't want a bunch of yes players. I don't want kids that are just going to listen to me the whole time. I want them to listen to me and then be able to say, hey, I'm not sure I really feel that, or I'm not sure I really understand that. And that's the nice thing about it. We're the same thing in the coach's office. We don't want everybody to agree, because there's no growing. There's no getting better. You always say it always bad, but it always sounds, you always want that one person to kind of maybe disagree and maybe not completely agree with you. And I think that's what makes it easy for me as a coaching style, because they're a little more comfortable with saying what they really feel, rather than feeling on edge if they say something that might frustrate me or something like that.
Now, one of the ways that you build relationships, especially towards the end of the season, something that pretty much everybody in that clubhouse knows about you is your fantasy football and love for fantasy football. I know we're getting back from one of the long road trips, and you had a couple big drafts. How has your season been going, getting near playoff time?
Awful.
Oh,
I had
man.
that draft I did on the bus, I had almost every player get hurt. I had Jerry Jeudy hurt. I had Robert Woods, torn ACL. DeAndre Hopkins out, hamstring, now sprained MCL.
Out for the year, yeah.
Michael Gallup hurt. Jerry Jeudy hurt. Russell Wilson hurt. ETN out. Like I even had Antonio Gibson hurt. Josh Jacobs hurt. Aaron Jones had a sprained MCL. Everybody, all my buddies were like, I don't know what you did to upset the fantasy gods. They're inflicting every bit of pain on you. It's tough.
Yeah, you were pretty proud about that draft too.
I was fired up
going in, but you were pumped the next day.
Allen Robinson's been hurt, but he's been nothing this year anyway.
Right.
Like if I looked at my team, I was fired up. I was like, okay, I like my team. And then it got going, and it was anything but that. It's not good. It's not good.
I know. Stan, the assistant clubhouse manager, was giving me a lot of crap for my 3 teams, but we're gonna get the 1 seed in all 3 of those. So we're
Stam. I like your teams. Stam's team was killing it, and the minute Derrick Henry got hurt, his team fell hard. It was so funny. But Stam's team he was in first for majority of the season, and then the minute Derrick Henry got hurt, different guy.
Shout out Stam's Clams on the.
I did beat Stam though this year in our league. That's one of that stay on record.
That's bragging rights for the entire year. That's
yeah.
Pretty
I know. I let him know about it. He's pretty upset. I wore him out pretty hard about it, and he wasn't too happy with me. But I made sure he knew that.
Oh yeah, you have to.
Oh yeah.
Now,
sure he knew.
One more thing on football that I have to let you know. Cowboys Saints, how'd that go for you? Of course, that was good for Brian White and myself. What's the experience like with Cowboys Saints?
It was so good, but it's the fact that this Cowboys are good.
Yeah.
And if it was last year, I'd have been very happy at the matchup. But with us having so many players hurt, and at that time not having Ingram, but not having Kamara or Michael Thomas or Armstead or multiple players on the cornerback deep, it's just like, oh my God, this is not going to be good. And it was very frustrating because I was talking to B. I woke up that morning texting them, talking trash the whole time. Going back and forth all day. And I was like, if we win, I'm not gonna let you live this down. Not because we beat you, because we have nobody on our team right now. I was like, that's gonna be worse. And the thing is like Dak Prescott didn't play very well. It's the fact that, you look at it, we had Taysom Hill and he threw 4 interceptions. It was not, and it was a bad day. It was a bad day. And B White hadn't said anything about it since. I think he expected to win. He hadn't said anything about it since. But I'm sure he will next time I see him or next time I talk football. I know he's gonna say something. I know he will.
That's for sure. So let's transition into your career, your life in baseball. How did you get into baseball, and what was the big impact on you?
My dad, it kind of started there with him playing. I think I grew up around it. But the best thing was my dad he didn't care if we played baseball, my brother and I. All he wanted just to do is play sports. And if we liked baseball, then it was something that he was happy with. It's funny. I talk to kids all the time about baseball and how difficult it is. And kids get so frustrated at how they're not getting better sooner, and how the baseball game now is so crazy with recruits so early, and I got to get a college scholarship, I got to be D1, But I tell him all the time, I'm like, man, I wasn't very good till I was like 12. And even when I was 12, like I was just okay. And the only reason I actually made the baseball team when I was 10 is because my dad had a baseball facility the team trained at. That's like the only reason I made it.
Mm.
And I was like, and the funny thing is I was the only one who went to a Division I school off that team to play baseball. And I was one of like a couple that played baseball out of college from that team. I was like, that's the thing. And that's what people don't realize. And so that's something that I think, was big on me, is playing on a team that wasn't built specifically on winning as much as just playing. And my dad made sure that, like, I could have played for, big travel teams. I could have done all of that and, played with the DBAT teams. And I was offered it when I was 12, 13, and 14. But my dad was like, the minute summer ended, I wasn't allowed to play baseball after that. He made sure of that. And I think that kept my drive in baseball hungry, because during spring, when spring rolled around, I was ready to go. I wanted to play. I was like, baseball, baseball, baseball. I want to play. And I always loved football. I enjoyed it. I was very aggressive. It was something where, you can, when I play speedball with the guys. I didn't get to play this year, but when I play speedball with the guys, you guys be white. I'm wearing them out the whole time. Me and him kind of go back and forth. We're always talking. We're always jawing at each other. And like, that's how I played football too. I was always talking, and every once in a while I got lit up, but that kind of kept me away from baseball long enough to where baseball season came around. I think that kept me hungry to play. And then the more I played it, the more I grew a love for it. The more I grew a love for baseball. It didn't just become, it became I worked at it for specific reasons. Like in high school, I worked at it because I knew I had to get a scholarship due to, family reasons at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I had to get a scholarship. And so I worked on it. I went to school, make good grades, or good enough grades, I guess. And then I also worked every day. Like I didn't do much. I was always at the field. Like I said, I went to a good baseball school. We were very talented. The players pushed you to be better. And that was another thing that helped me. Dad put me in a good situation in high school, where you're forced to get better, whether you wanted to or not. You naturally got better because you're playing with better talent against better talent. And so that was a huge thing for me. And then, I was fortunate, I went to Memphis, and again, same kind of concepts. I got put in the Valley League, it kept getting better. I got put in the Cape, kept getting better. And eventually I got fortunate and led to pro ball. Not many people get drafted twice. I was fortunate too. It's led my life to kind of where I'm at, but the love for baseball hasn't stopped. It's only kept growing. The only thing that continues to keep going is, the one thing that keeps going is you keep learning, keep growing, you keep developing. I'm learning stuff every day. I mean, I learned something last night,
Mm-hmm.
just a different, and that's going to help me this year. And that's the biggest thing. And that's what kind of kept me going baseball wise. That's what my love came from. And that's what, for me, at least, that's what's helped me continue to grow and love baseball and not get burnt out on it.
Mm.
So many people get burnt out on it when they're baseball all the time. And now doing it as a job doesn't feel like a job, or doing it as a career doesn't feel like a career. It feels like I'm continuing to play this 12-year-old kid game as a 32-year-old adult. And, I love it, enjoy it. It's fun for me. And I hope it continues.
Yeah, that's important. Not get burned out. That's for sure. What kind of player were you, and how does that help your coaching style?
I was pretty high energy.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little like a Pintor, where like I was very vocal, I was loud, I was always smiling, having fun. I enjoyed my teammates. I enjoyed being around my teammates. I still talk to my teammates I played with. And I tried to, I batted, I hit second. I led off for a second. So I was always, I was near the top of the order. So my mindset goal was just trying to find a way on. and then from there, try to create as much attention to me as possible, and allow my hitter to get a better pitch. You know, if they're so focused on me running, they're not going to throw off speed. If they're so focused on me stealing, then they might leave one up in the zone. If they're so focused on me running, a catcher might be quicker to pop up and steal a strike call that they've been caught a ball. As well as defensively, you know, I was somebody that I took pride in my defense. In my head, if I was struggling that day, my mindset was, I'm not getting a hit, nobody's getting hit. And I actually heard that comment come from Reggie Abercrombie. He took a hit from me one day, and I was joking with him, and kind of like, man, why let that drop? That's my hit. I needed that. And he goes, man, not today. If I'm not getting hit, nobody's getting hit. And I was like, I like that. That's something different. Like little things players say to you that stick with you a lot longer than you ever realize. But that's kind of player I was. I want you to feel that you could depend on me. Like if the ball was hit my way, you could depend I was going to make the play. Or if a situation arose, that you knew I was going to execute that moment. And, fortunate for me, I was fortunate to win a few championships. I was fortunate to be put in big situations and execute and do well. I tell people I consider myself a winner as a player. I've always won. I've always, odd years for some reason, I've always won. Obviously not 19. That hurt a little bit. And this past year, I thought we were going to win this past year. It was an odd year. But I like to consider myself a winner. Just for some reason, I'm going to find a way to win. But that also means I'm going to put in a lot more work than other people will. What people don't see is the late nights we stayed up as a team, hitting, 2-3 hours after the game. It made it worth it. And that's the type of player I was as well. I was willing to go in early. I was willing to go in late. I got off the bus, immediately headed to the gym, not just because I wanted to work out or get strong, but because I wanted to loosen my body up. You know how those trips are.
Yeah.
That 8-hour bus ride to, wherever, that sucks. It's grueling. I don't care how nice the bus might be. It's grueling. It's not fun. And so that's the biggest thing I tell players all the time. Like, you go to the bus, just go ride the bike, walk on the treadmill, go stretch, go do a short workout, eat breakfast, go. And I think that's the biggest thing I did differently than other people, is I was willing to take care of my body. And I think that's the biggest thing I took pride in, is understanding my body and taking pride in it, because I never really had injury problems. The only injury problem I had was my ankle, rolling my ankles. That was always a problem for me. But aside from that, I never had muscle problems. I think that's the kind of player I was, making sure I was always prepared, making sure I always I sacrificed enough. I mean, kind of like I do now as a coach. You always got to sacrifice. But yeah, that's the type of player I was.
Funny thing is, I was literally going to ask you about winning as my next question. You touched on it a little bit. You've won a lot, and as you just said, you won championships in Gary. You've won as a coach in Florence, maybe not the championship level, but you've won a lot of games and had a lot of success. What makes teams winners? Not necessarily the talent side of things, but what else makes a team a winner?
I honestly think it's a mindset. I mean, I really do think it's a mindset. I think it's understanding what comes first. That's winning. I always believe, a lot of times teams want winners. Affiliated players want winners. And they talk so much about wanting to develop winners. If you're on a team that's losing in our league, it's like, unless you're just a special freakish player, they're not going after you. And the second thing is putting in the work. I mean, you see it. We do early work almost every day. In some sort of fashion, bunting, whether it's infield work, double plays, outfield work, sun balls, balls off the wall, infield in and out, tandems. Like we do something all the time, home and away. Nobody else does that. I mean, even little things from us hitting off the machine, us tracking breaking balls after BP. Like nobody else does stuff we do. Do they imitate us and try it? Yeah. Halfway through the year, we saw Southern using the machine. We've been doing that all year. We did that last year.
Yeah.
Teams are starting to do that, and teams are starting to see what we do, and they try to imitate us and try to do it. Now, are we going to beat them every time? No. But we're gonna make sure we put our players in the position to win, and put our players in the best position to succeed and do well. And that's our goal. I mean, even from Pelf was there. It's putting our players in the best position to succeed, putting our players in the best position to continue to develop and work. You got out of affiliated ball, you got released because you did everything on your own. You did stuff on your own. We're going to structure it a little more. And, that's sometimes also a knock on some players that, they talk, they're like, oh, it's a little college-ish. No, we're just structuring it so that you have a schedule. You have something to do. But the problem is when they start succeeding, then they buy in. And you might get a little blowback for some players. They get frustrated. They may not agree with it at first, but then they see win after win after win after win, and winning's fun, and winning's contagious, and it comes around. And so then they start buying in, and then you see a different work. And then the only time you ever really hear blowback is when you're losing. That's the thing. When things aren't going well, that's it. So, and that's our goal as a staff. We want to put the players in the best positions. Again, I can't tell you how many times Chad and I sat up at night or early in the day or came in on a Monday and threw BP for hours, or up till 1:30 in the morning, 2 in the morning throwing BP. Like I remember somebody, we just played a doubleheader game against Quebec. It was a doubleheader day, long game, long days. And we had like 3 or 4 players hitting after the game. And one of their players walked through a hitting area and was like, y'all are hitting still? Are y'all hitting right now? They're like, yeah. But mentally in my head, I was like, that is why we are beating y'all. That is why we're better than y'all. It's not a, being arrogant. It's we're putting in more work. So we should be confident. And that's why we have a little bit of a confidence, a little bit of a cockiness on the field as a team, because, and teams despise us because we have a little bit of that arrogance.
Yeah.
But why wouldn't we? It starts from the top. The coaches have a little bit of arrogance, but we put in more work than any other coach. We know that. We're going to work harder than any other coach. We tell everybody, hey, we're here for your career, for you to get better. And if we're not going to put in the work, if we're not going to follow through what we're saying, then why are we even there? There are too many teams in our league. Their coaches don't do anything for the players. The players do everything. And the difference between us is we're going to work, and we know that we're going to make you work. And we tell players when they come in, you better be willing to work. And that's why we win. That's honestly why we win. We're willing to do more than others.
I notice you're wearing a Braves shirt right now. And the first thing that popped into my head, of course, World Series champions, Tyler Matzik, applicable to this situation. He spent some time in Indy ball, got right, and was pitching at the highest level, and might have been the best reliever for the entire postseason for the Atlanta Braves. He had a message for Indy ball players during the trophy presentation, kind of like a stick with it, but of course more special than that, only the way he could put it. How important is that to have proof that the process works for a player? You've been in affiliated ball as a player. You've been in Indy ball as a player. You've spent some time with the Tigers as a coach. You've been, of course, with the Alls as a coach. How important is it to have that example? We can do this.
I think in Indy ball's not as looked down on as it used to be.
Mhm.
It used to be looked down on.
Right.
I think with MLB cutting down the rounds and MLB draft, they're starting to reach out more towards indie ball players. Indie ball, is becoming more of I guess, a second league to minor league baseball because it allows college kids to get experience, go through the system, understand kind of, hey, like this is what pro ball feels like. So I think the biggest thing people don't get, when I went to indie ball, I wasn't sure what to expect because when I went to indie ball, I didn't think much about it, honestly.
Mhm.
Because the Angels asked me when they released me, said, would you be willing to play indie ball at all? I was like, no. I ended up going to play indie ball. And so the biggest thing you learn in indie ball is everybody in indie ball has either been released, been told they're not good enough, been skipped over, been, this, that, or the other. So the egos are out.
Mm.
Everybody kind of has a little bit of chip on their shoulder. So what I've noticed is when players get to affiliated ball, they take that chip on their shoulder with them. And I think the biggest sort of thing with Masick is, he was a high pick. He was a high money pick guy. A lot of talent. It was always in there. The difference is that shows a little bit what it could do when you take a step back, maybe get the right coaching, and then go into the right organization with that right coaching, and maybe change them. Maybe it takes a step back and change some body things. But that's I played against David Peralta in 2013,
Mm.
and the next thing you know, a year later in 2014, he's in the big leagues. He was at Amarillo, one of the worst indie ball baseball fields I've ever played at. It was terrible. It's worse than high school fields.
Mm.
And he's there playing, 2 years later a year later in the big leagues. Like, it can happen that quick.
And he's a fan favorite. I'm in Phoenix right now, for those that don't know, and he's a fan favorite here.
Yeah, exactly. And he was a pitcher in pro ball
Right.
at first.
Right.
And so it can happen that quick. People don't realize, like we tell players all the time, you do the right things. You come in and work, you put in the work. Worst case scenario, at least you did everything you could. You did what you could. You grinded things out. You worked hard. At least you know that. If you come in and expect it to come to you, it's not going to happen.
Mm.
So it's not, and the thing is, not that Masick wasn't a talented guy. He might not just have the right coaching. He might not have put in the right work. He might not have put in the right things. It's indie ball. You have to work a little bit. Coaches, I think, are a little more willing to work with you. Everybody, not just because you're a first rounder, second rounder, third rounder. They're willing to work with everybody. And so you might have got somebody paying more attention to him, and maybe clicked one thing, and then took off. And that's the biggest thing that it's a credit to him and what he's done, but it's also showing like that's what it can be. That's what it can be.
Mm-hmm.
You can be there very quickly. You can be in the big leagues very quickly. They may need a filler. You go in, kill it. Next thing you know, that's what David Peralta did. Went in to fill, killed it. They're like, okay, we're gonna keep you. And then he went Double-A, did well again, pulled him up. And there's many stories like that.
Yeah.
Many people like that. And that's the thing. It shows it can happen.
I remember walking across the field after batting practice one day, and I believe it was you that said, there's big leaguers in this league right now.
Yeah.
It's that level of talent. It's just a matter of the right situation. Well, Drew, thank you very much for taking the time. This was awesome. Have a good rest of your off season, and excited for spring training.
All right. I'll see you. Good to talk to you.